Imagine walking into your golden years, heart wide open, yet haunted by the echoes of love lost, choices made too fast. You feel it deep within, a spark of hope, a chance at love again. But wait before you say, I do again. Listen closely. This isn't the same dance you did before. This time, your steps carry decades of history, weighty decisions, and fragile dreams. Tonight, we're about to explore 5 critical truths every older adult must know before walking down the aisle again. Ready to open your heart with eyes wide open? Are you truly ready? This is more than a second chance. It's a deeper, more vulnerable one. Are you ready to give your heart once more? With all its scars? You've lived a life. You've loved, lost, maybe built something only. To watch it fall apart, that grief doesn't vanish, it transforms. And if it's not healed, it creeps back in. Mary thought she was ready. Widowed for 5 years, she had built her own quiet peace. Then came Jem's kind smile, warm laugh, and the exact voice she missed hearing in the mornings. But one night, over dinner, James casually mentioned how he still visits his ex-wife's grave on her birthday, and the room went cold. Mary hadn't expected that. Her heart, once open, suddenly shuddered again. She realized she wasn't ready to share. Not yet, and that's the truth. Being ready doesn't mean you're lonely. It means you've looked your past in the face and made peace with it. It means your new love isn't a replacement, but a choice. You've lived long enough to know time doesn't heal everything unless you face it, and now. Let's talk about what love costs literally. You've built a life, finances, savings, maybe a home you finally paid off. Now you're merging dreams and dollars. Sounds simple. It's not. Love in later years often comes tangled in complex financial ties, retirement accounts, social security benefits, taxes, healthcare premiums. One shift in marital status can alter it all. Imagine losing Medicaid access or cutting your pension because your income now includes someone else's. Imagine remarrying without a prenup, and suddenly your kid's inheritance is gone. George, 68, fell in love again at a local charity dance. He and Elaine clicked instantly. But in all the joy, he never updated his will. When George passed unexpectedly, his adult children and Elaine found themselves in a bitter legal fight. Nobody won. His home gone, his savings split, his memory stained by confusion and courtrooms. This is why financial transparency isn't just wise, it's love in action. Love that protects, love that plans ahead. So sit down, review your accounts, talk openly about income, debt, legacy wishes, and, most importantly, get the paperwork done. Because peace of mind doesn't come after death. It starts before the wedding. And with finances sorted, let's talk about something even more emotional. Families. Remarrying later in life often means you're not just inviting one person into your world, but their whole history. Children, grandchildren, friends, ex-spouses. It's not just 2 hearts. It's a whole community. Blending families is one of the most complicated parts of later in life. Love. There's history, loyalty, unspoken jealousy, even fear. Adult kids can feel betrayed. Grandchildren may act out. Holidays become tense. Decisions fraught with who gets included. Clara, 70, remarried a charming man named Harold. Her children welcomed him. But Harold's first wife, still alive and bitter, poisoned every gathering. Cold silences at the dinner table. Whispers. Drama. Clara thought love would solve everything. Oh, but love doesn't eliminate complexity. Blended families need patience, deep communication, and clear boundaries. This takes time and courage. So have the conversations early. Where will you live? Who comes for Christmas? What happens if someone needs caregiving? The more assumptions you challenge before the wedding, the stronger your future together will be. Now, we must face the truth that most couples ignore the legal side of love. Love is free. But building a secure life together? That takes contracts, signatures, and uncomfortable talks. A second marriage without legal planning can devastate your legacy, especially if one partner dies first. Ellen and Tom, madly in love at 65, never discussed the house deed. When Tom died, his children demanded their share. Ellen, despite being his wife, lost the house she helped maintain. Her grief turned into a legal nightmare. You must update your wills, create trusts, review titles, powers of attorney, healthcare proxies. Because the law doesn't care how in love you were, only cares about what's written down. Remember, your legacy is love. Okay. But that love must live in legal language to truly protect the ones you leave behind. And now, the most overlooked, yet most powerful tool, counseling. Most people assume counseling is for young couples, for those still learning. But you've been through it. You've lived it. And that's exactly why counseling matters even more. Reggie, 62, refused it. "We're fine," he said. "We're grown." A year into marriage, tensions rose. Financial disagreements, intimacy issues, grief flare-ups. The marriage cracked. Could counseling have saved them? Possibly. A good premarital counselor will help you talk about things you've buried for years. Grief over past spouses, health concerns, end of life, wishes, financial triggers, even fear of being vulnerable again. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. The strongest couples are the ones brave enough to say, "We don't have it all figured out, but we want to. So now we've walked through it all. Let's breathe for a moment." You've faced the truth about your heart. You've opened up to tough financial talks. You've accepted the emotional work of blending families. You've taken the legal steps to protect your home and your partner. And you've embraced the wisdom of guidance. This isn't just love. This is love evolved. Love with boundaries, with truth, with bravery. And now, here you stand. Not rushing down an aisle, but walking forward with purpose. If love finds you again, whether it's 60, 70, or beyond, it's not a miracle. It's a reward. A testament to everything you've endured and everything you still dream of. So if you're about to say, "I do" again, say it, not with fear. Say it with knowledge, with preparation, with strength. Because this time, you're not just promising forever. You're promising wisdom, safety, real love. And real love, at this stage of life, is the most beautiful kind there is. If this touched your heart today, like and subscribe, and tell us, did love find you again? We'd love to hear your story, because it's never too late to say "I do." Hashtag love after 60, #remarrying wisely, hashtag second act love, hashtag golden years marriage, hashtag marriage over 60, hashtag elder wisdom, hashtag emotional healing, hashtag senior love, hashtag marriage advice, hashtag true love returns, hashtag marrying again, hashtag estate planning, hashtag blended families, hashtag pre-NUP matters, hashtag love with purpose. Let me know if you'd like this divided into scenes for visuals or pacing. You said, make it more long. ChatGPT said, updated saved memory here is an extended, emotionally rich 40-minute voiceover script based on the theme. Remarrying in old age. 5 things you must consider before saying "I do" again. This version expands on each section with deeper narratives, examples, emotional beats, and reflections to enrich the listener experience. Imagine this. If you're sipping coffee on your front porch watching the sunrise, birds chirping, breeze soft, the world feels still, and yet inside you, a question lingers. "I love again. After all this time, after all the pain, all the healing, is my heart still capable of something as daring, as tender as love?" Maybe it's been years since you've had someone beside you at night. Maybe you're used to silence. Or maybe you've gotten really good at pretending you're okay. And then someone comes along, smile, a laugh, a story that feels familiar. You feel warmth again. You feel seen. You feel young despite your age. And just like that, a door opens. But before you say I do, before you walk back down that aisle with decades of life behind you, there are truths to face. Deep, powerful truths that no wedding cake or bouquet can soften. These aren't about planning a party. These are the truths that protect your heart, your home, your family, and your future. Let me take you on a journey not of fear, but of preparation. Not of doubt, but of clarity. These are the 5 sacred questions you must ask yourself before you commit to forever. Again, are you really, truly ready? We start with the heart. Not the one that skips when they text you, but the one that holds your losses, your memories, your scars. Being ready to marry again isn't about age. It's about emotional space. You see, grief has no expiration date. For some, it lingers like perfume on a sweater, decades after a spouse is gone. For others, the end of a long, difficult marriage leaves a residue of shame or resentment. And for some, love wasn't lost, it was never quite found. I'm choosing this new relationship because I'm healed. Or because I'm lonely. There's a difference, a big one. Loneliness can whisper lies. It tells you that any connection is better than none. It tricks you into thinking companionship is a substitute for deep, mutual love. And yet, rushing into a new union without doing the work is like planting flowers in dry soil. It may bloom at first, but it won't last. Joanne lost her husband of 40 years to cancer. 2 years later, she met Frank at a grief group. He was warm, gentle, their laughter returned. But Joanne hadn't yet faced her grief. She still dreamed of her late husband, still kept his shirts. Hanging in the closet, she found herself comparing Frank to a ghost. Their relationship suffered not because Frank wasn't good, but because Joanne hadn't made space in her heart yet. Love deserves a whole heart, not a distracted one, not a grieving one. You don't need to be over your past, but you do need to know how to carry it without letting it overshadow your future. So ask yourself, am I ready to build something new? Or am I clinging to what was now? Let's talk about something that ends more marriages than anything else: money. You've worked your whole life. You've earned, saved, budgeted, built a financial rhythm that protects your comfort, your independence. But when you remarry, especially later in life, that comfort zone shifts. Do you know how your new marital status will affect your taxes, your health care, your pension, your children's inheritance? This isn't just about bank accounts. It's about trust, transparency, and consequences. Take Carl and Denise. Was a retired military officer with a strong pension. Denise had her own retirement funds and a modest home. They fell in love. Beautiful, right? They got married but never discussed finances in depth. Months later, Denise's Social Security benefits decreased. Carl's tax bracket changed. Fought constantly over who owed what. They hadn't set boundaries. They hadn't written a prenup. And when Carl passed away 2 years later, his adult daughter sued Denise over the estate. Love doesn't erase the law. That's why second marriages require more planning, not less. Because you're walking in with assets, responsibilities, maybe even debt. A prenup isn't unromantic kids. A blueprint. It protects both parties. It allows love to flourish because expectations are clear. Ask questions like, who pays the bills? Do we combine our assets? How will this affect our children financially? What happens if one of us needs full-time care? And don't just talk, write it down. Work with a financial advisor who understands elder law. Update your wills, your insurance policies, your power of attorney. Love may be free, but the cost of confusion is devastating. And speaking of confusion, let's talk about families, because when you remarry later in life, you aren't just blending to people. You're blending to entire histories, kids, grandkids, ex-spouses, longtime friends. Even pets, and each person in your life may have feelings about your decision to remarry, whether they say it out loud or not. Linda had 3 grown daughters. When she met Thomas at church, she felt butterflies for the first time in decades. He was respectful, kind. Kay adored her. But her daughters felt uncomfortable. They worried he was after her money. They resented how much time she now spent with him. They felt pushed aside. And without open conversations, distance grew. Linda thought she could just wait it out. But resentment doesn't dissolve on its own, it grows. Blending a family requires active work, conversations, listening, validation. Even if your kids are adults, they need to hear from you. You matter. This isn't replacing your dad. I still want us close. And for the person you're marrying, do they understand your family's traditions? Are they willing to compromise? Marriage is not a solo act, especially not now. So ask yourself, have I truly talked to my family? Have I asked them how they feel? Have I listened, not just defended? Now let's take a breath and face what many ignore until it's too late. Legal protection. You may be deeply in love. You may trust your partner with your life. But if something happened tomorrow, would the law protect your wishes? Too many people remarry without updating their estate plans. If your name isn't on the deed, the house might not be yours even if you've lived there for years. If your will still names your ex-spouse, your new partner may get nothing. If your medical proxy hasn't been updated, your children could make medical decisions your spouse doesn't agree with. Eleanor thought love was enough. But when her husband of 2 years died unexpectedly, she discovered the house was left to his sister. She had no legal claim despite sharing a life, a bed, a bank account. She was forced to move within 60 days. It broke her. You deserve protection. You deserve peace, so please speak with an estate attorney. Update your wills. Review your trusts. Decide who can make medical decisions. Make sure your final wishes reflect the life you're building now, not the one you lived before. Because love is eternal, but the law only recognizes paperwork. And now, our final and perhaps most important truth. Have you had the hard conversations? You may think you've lived long enough to skip the awkward chats. But every couple, young or old, benefits from real, honest premarital counseling. You're both walking in with history. Health concerns, maybe trauma, maybe fear. Counseling creates a safe space to talk about the things we tend to hide. Are you afraid of intimacy? Are you worried about becoming a caregiver? Are you still grieving your late spouse? Are you open about what your final years might look like? Lena and Mike married at 72, but they never talked about end-of-life care. When Mike developed dementia, Lena was lost. They'd never decided on a care plan. They hadn't signed legal directives. She was overwhelmed. Their love story, which began in joy, turned into a crisis. Don't wait for the storm to prepare your umbrella. Talk now, even if it's hard, especially if it's hard. Love after 60 isn't reckless, it's rooted. But roots grow best in clear soil, and so we come to the end. Not of your story, but of this chapter. You've walked with me through the heartaches, the hope, the legalities, the finances, the family dynamics, and the fears. Now you stand at a threshold. Do you still want to say, I do? Hope you do. Because love isn't reserved for the young. It's not weakened by wrinkles or softened by age. In fact, love that survives loss, that endures decades. That finds the courage to begin again as the strongest love of all. So say I do. But say it with knowledge. Say it with your eyes. Open. Say it not out of fear of being alone, but because you've found someone worth walking the rest of the road with. Say it because your heart still believes in second chances. Because it's never too late to begin again. If this story moved you, like and subscribe. Share your thoughts below. Have you remarried in later life? Are you thinking about it? What lessons have you learned? Let's start the conversation. You're not alone.